Hi, I'm Measha Stone. I write dark contemporary romance where the hero and heroines walk through the darkness to find the love in the light.
Welcome to Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. This is a soft space to explore romance in books where no topic is too taboo. I'm your host, Casey, and this week I am sitting down with author Measha Stone. Misha is the author of the book Dolly, which was one of my favorite dark romance reads of the last year. Now, if you follow me on social media, I'm sure you've seen all the videos I made about this intense psychological thriller, roller coaster ride of a book that also happens to be one of the most healing and cathartic love stories and powerful revenge stories that I might have ever read. And I've been looking forward to talking with Misha about her series, her standalones, her process, and what inspires her. Make sure to stay to the end of the episode when Misha shares a beautiful love letter that she wrote to her readers that may be exactly what you need to hear today. Welcome to the Love Letters and Books podcast, Misha. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Good. Well, I would like to just jump right in because I look at you and I think that you've had quite a career as an author. You have this catalog of books that somebody discovering you today could dive into. But I always wonder when someone has been putting their work out there, is there something about you that we don't know that as readers, it would help us better understand your work? Is there anything about you that you'd like to share?
I'm not really a plotter, and that's not unusual for a writer not to be a plotter. But I'm not a plotter as to the point of sometimes I will sit down and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to write at all. And other times, though, I do have a general grasp of what I'm going to do, what road I'm going to take. For example, so I wrote Cuffed, which is a BDSM murder mystery. And I had no idea who the killer was until he was actually exposed as the killer. And after I finished it, and then I had to go back, I'm like, okay, let me put the breadcrumbs in. I found the breadcrumbs that I had left for myself, which was slightly scary because because I truly had no idea who it was going to be. And then I found out later on, I'm like, oh, apparently someone in my brain knew who it was going to be. So I guess that's pretty much it. So I don't always know what you're going to get because I don't know what I'm going to get either when I sit down sometimes.
That is amazing to me. As a reader, I love hearing these little tidbits. I just figure everyone has these massive charts and graphs and everything before they get started.
I'm really jealous of authors who are able to do that because it's not all fun and games sitting down and not knowing what you're going to do. It's there are times where I get totally stuck and then I have to just stop until I figure out what's going to happen because I've written myself into a corner. Whereas when you're plotting, you can work that stuff out beforehand. So I'm very envious of authors or writers who have that really structured plot line going in.
When did you start writing? And that can sound like an obvious question. I don't know, we all started writing when we were young, but when did you start knowing that this would be a career or something that you would share publicly?
So I've always wanted to be an author. So I would say from 8 years old when I started writing short stories, that's what I wanted to do. But when I actually thought that okay, I can actually do this, I would probably say I was in my late 20s. I already had kids. I had a career in ophthalmology. I was managing an ophthalmology practice. So I already had a successful career outside of writing. And then I was like, I can actually do this thing that I've always wanted to do. And then I kind of embarked on that as well.
I love that part of the story because I feel like it's really important to share with people that one, you can pivot at any time. Two, that you might have a calling that takes you in a completely different direction than you've been going in, and that it's been there the whole time, sort of silently in the background, just waiting for you. I really love hearing about that. I feel like it's important as women, and I'm hoping that on this podcast, people really get that because it's just an opportunity to tap into your creativity. So that's just my little spiel about that. But now that you've said what you said about your writing process, I want to jump into the book that introduced me to you. I had a mutual on TikTok who knows my literary interests, and they suggested your book, Dolly. And they said, Casey, you will absolutely love this book. And I picked it up last year, and I was blown away. And I don't want to like fangirl in front of you and make you uncomfortable, but I loved that book. So as I'm hearing you say, I'm not a plotter, or I didn't write this. That book was pretty complicated. So tell us a little bit about that book and what inspired it.
So that book actually came out of nowhere. Like I knew I wanted to write a psychological thriller. I was really into thrillers at the time. And I'm like, but I wanted a romantic thriller and I wanted the erotic element to it as well. But I hadn't really sat down and be like, okay, this is to get an idea. But one day, and I was just like a stream of consciousness. I just sat down and I was like, this idea, these words just came, not even an idea, like the words. And I wrote the first maybe 5 paragraphs or so of the first chapter. And then I sent it off into a group chat that I had with some authors that I was friends with. And they were like, what is this? And where can I get more? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. We'll just see what happens. And then I think I was actually working on another project at the time that I put aside because Dolly was just there and wouldn't go away. And I had to write it. And then it just stemmed from there. And I really didn't know where I was going to go with it. There were a few things that I did know. I did know there was a few twists I wanted, so I had to work those in as I was going. But yeah, it just happened.
Well, I'm
And
glad it
yeah.
did because that was one of my favorite books of last year. And it's so funny because with other people who also love the book, who kind of found some of the videos I put out about the book, they all agree. Like I don't know, something about the book really clicks for us. And I think one of the themes that stood out to me was how your 2 main characters are in this experience together. And I feel
Mhm.
like that really resonated with survivors because very often your experience of survivorship from violence or sexual violence is a solo experience. And here you had these 2 who were together
Right.
and both experiencing it, which I also thought was very interesting. The choice to expose your main male character to some of the horrors that are sometimes only put on the main female character. So the
Mhm.
choice to write about that, I don't know. I guess my question is, did you have any hesitation? Did you feel like it was an important part of the book? Because it really brings them both into this horrific experience together. Like he's not just a savior, he's also a victim of this.
I didn't have any hesitation with it. I didn't really even actually think about the fact that he was male. It was just simply that I wanted them both to have horrible experiences that they could work through together while they were finding their path to their own relationship. That they were going to find healing through the love that they have for each other, while also, wreaking vengeance upon everybody who ever wronged them. But, so so there was no hesitation at all. I wanted them both to have the same experience so that they could bond through the trauma, which I didn't really at the time. This was years ago, so I didn't know that trauma bonding was an actual trope. And now I do. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I did that." I just didn't realize it at the time, but yeah, I wanted them to be able to work their way through the trauma together and come out the other side.
It's interesting as the reader because I think I was really drawn in by, I guess I'd say like almost like the willingness to be brave and take the story in the direction you did, because even in their healing or vengeance or survival,
Mhm.
whatever happens in the
Right.
aftermath, right?
Yeah.
All of that was pretty wild too. Like these characters are very much themselves and they're healing the way that the 2 of them need to heal.
Mhm.
And I feel like sometimes the healing process after a trauma is hidden. It's almost like a fade to black. Like you just have to get better. And here you invited us into this motel room that they're in for part of it, where they're just trying to figure
Mhm.
out their next steps. And it just, I don't know, it just really added so much to the story. So, can you tell us a little bit about what went into Dolly as a character? Because she's very complex. There's so much more than meets the eye. Like when we initially meet her, her story just continues to expand. So, What about her needed her story to be told?
So with Dolly, I wanted her to find her strength because so much of it had been taken from her. Because it wasn't just the first event, right? Like her trauma went beyond that and started earlier than that. So there was no point for her where she had power, where she had strength. It was just stripped from her. So it was really important, and I hope I achieved it. I wanted her to get her strength back little by little until she finally realized that she did have the power over her life. She had a choice to make. Was she going to let this consume her, or was she going to take back her power and make something of it? And that's really what I wanted her to do. Is I wanted to bring her out of the darkness and bring her into the light and show her that it's safe to be here and you're powerful here and you can get through anything now. Like you have it. You can do it. So I hope I achieved that. That's what I was trying to do.
Oh, no, I love that you shared that. And then that leads me to thinking about our main male character, our Ken.
Hmm.
And what shaped him as a character? Because I guess as a reader, I almost thought, oh, he's almost an unlikely person to be this guy, but he's not. I mean, everything about him is who he is, and he's
Right.
meant for this. But I think maybe he's a little surprised at the journey he goes on and the role he takes on after this. What went into his character?
With him, I wanted him to be a protector, but I also wanted him to be her guide, where he would know where to push and when not to push, and how to just gently pull her into the strength that I knew she had, that he could see that she had, that he just had to help her find it again. So that was important. But I also wanted him to be standoff-ish in the way that once she found her strength, he wasn't going to try to overpower her or I really just wanted him to be her guide is kind of where I put him. Like, he was gonna have his own trauma, he was gonna have his own arc, he had his own things to deal with, but to him, when it came to Dolly, he was there to help her achieve what he knew she could achieve, and in doing that, he was gonna find his own strength again as well, because it's stripped away from him as well, and then he has to reclaim his own, and he reclaims it by becoming her protector and her guide and her love.
Well, one of the other things I loved about the book is you gave readers a real gift because there is vengeance like you've almost never seen in a book. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's really important in these stories where it doesn't have to be the exact thing someone experienced, but any survivor of trauma very rarely gets to experience that. I mean, people can perpetuate trauma and they just go on living their lives and everything's
Mhm,
great. And it can be really frustrating, very disempowering. And so I feel like there's almost this power in storytelling when we get to experience that vengeance. We get to experience that comeuppance, even if we don't get it in our own lives. You get to sort of participate in the story. So
mhm.
what called to you in writing this story that that would take up a huge piece? Like these two are not just going to fade into black and hole up in a hotel room and just heal their wounds. They go out in
Right,
the world and they make a mark and they just do not stop. So why
right.
was that important for you as the writer?
It's very cathartic. It's a safe place to experience horrific things,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what I wanted because a lot of it was very violent and very explicit, but I wanted it to be where you get the feeling of the vengeance. I mean, these people had it coming to them, so it's not like it's just
They earned it. So
they did. They
they
earned every
did.
bit of it. They did. So I wanted that, like, safe place to feel those horrific feelings of the trauma, but also in getting the revenge and the satisfaction of this will never happen again. These people are never going to be able to do this to somebody else again.
Well, I'm wondering for readers much like myself who found you at Dolly or found you somewhere else, what is sort of the starting point that you would suggest in your catalog? Is there a book that really stands out for you that you want all of your readers to read?
That's hard because I have such a spectrum. I have really dark, like Dolly, and then I have some light stuff, and then I have, like, the mafia that's in the middle. So I guess it just depends on which road you wanna take. If you wanna go down the dark road, I would say start with Dolly. If you can handle Dolly, you can go handle anything else. So I would say there. If you're looking for contemporary dark romance, then I would say start with Taken by him. That's the first in the Mafia Bride series, and from there, you'll just go right along until, like, the next 20, I think 20 books now I'm at in that mafia genre. if you're just looking for something fluffy, you probably won't find it on my catalog at all. So I guess that's where you would go, either Dolly or Taken by Him.
Got it. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. And so I'm seeing that Vicious Sinners, you have a new book
Mhm.
launching in October. Can you
Yep.
tell us a little bit about that series in particular?
So Vicious Sinners is it's gonna be 6 books. So, it's a 6-book series, and it's revolving around the Volkov family, it's a Russian family, and they end up getting into a war with another family, the D'Angelos, so the Italian mob. And in each book, there's another family member or a person that works with them. There's always the D'Angelo war hanging over them, but the heroine has somehow gotten herself into a pickle, and he usually has to help her out of it, whether she wants him to or not. So, so that's pretty much the gist of that series.
And what about the next book that's coming out in October?
Yeah, that's Devious Corruption. And that book, it's not one of the Volkov brothers, it's Lev, who is a arms dealer who works with the Volkov family. And he's mentioned in the book beforehand, but he becomes attached to a woman who is friends with his sister. Of course, off limits because it's his little sister's friend, and he wants, and she doesn't really care for him, and she's very suspicious of people. So she's just like, whatever. So there's a lot of headbutting. And then his sister, she moves away for an internship. And so he's like, okay, well, that's the end of it with Maxine. And Max is like, okay, I'm not going to see him again anymore. But then she gets locked out of her apartment. And so he's got to come help her get into the apartment. And then he finds out that her brothers are causing trouble with some other issues in her life. And then he's like, okay, you should do this. And then he's going to hands off. But then, things happen, of course, where they keep running into each other. And then he's like, okay, that's it. I'm taking over. Like, so, screw it. And then, he gives in to his temptation of wanting to be with her, but thinks he can't be.
Oh, I love that you gave us an idea of the next book. And can you give us a little more information about the launch?
Sure. It comes out October 17th. It's available on Amazon. It'll be in Kindle Unlimited. You can pre-order it now, but it comes live October 17th.
Oh, excellent. Already adding it to my TBR. So, next, I would love to ask you a little bit about the genre you write. And yes, you write
Mhm,
a full spectrum of books. So, I don't want to just kind
mhm,
of do broad strokes here, but there's a lot of criticism about dark romance and romance in general. And I would love
mhm.
to hear some of your thoughts about it as someone who's writing these beautiful books that, are very entertaining, but also survivors are really attracted to because it's, like we said, cathartic in a lot of
Right.
ways. So, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts about some of the criticisms?
Well, I think not every book is going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Hmm.
There are books I don't like. There's genres that I won't read because I don't care for them. And I think dark romance it's one of those genres that there are going to people who don't get it, they don't like it, and that's fine. Like, that's fine. Then they just don't have to. So that's my feeling on it. I don't think that we as authors need to do anything to try to convince people that dark romance is for them. I think it's just not for them, and that's fine. And, they don't need to embark on it. I wouldn't try to make someone enjoy it because I think it's a safe place to feel bad things sometimes. And if you aren't in a place that you're able to do that or are willing to do that, then you're not going to enjoy it. And reading is supposed to be enjoyable. Like, it's my escape. And so that's what I assume other people are also reading for, is to escape. So if your escape is causing you issues, like it's hurting you or not making you feel good, then that's not the escape. So I would say to people who critique it or who are highly critical of it that they just don't get it, and that's fine, and they don't need to. And I wouldn't try to force them to, because they're not in the space for it, and it wouldn't benefit them in any way.
It's so funny. It brings up something I say at work I work in media, and I say if you try to talk to everyone, you're going to talk to no one, and that it's
Yes.
okay to not talk
Yes.
to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
I am met with a lot of resistance about that, so I really appreciate you agreeing
No,
with me
I
because
totally agree. You can't. If you're right. If you can't.
yeah.
If you tried to write a book that was for everybody to enjoy,
Mhm.
you're right. Nobody would enjoy it. There's
Yeah.
just too many there's too many variables. There's too many likes, there's too many dislikes, too many tropes that people like, don't like. You just can't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. The world is best with all the different flavors. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Something
yeah.
for everyone. No, I love
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear about authors and books that inspire you and what you're reading. What's on your bookshelf?
So right now I'm really into JT Geisner.
Guys,
Not sure I'm saying her name right.
JT
Geisinger?
Geisinger.
Yes,
W-
JT Geisner.
We'll
I
apologize
I
if we haven't said it right. We both love her, so it's
yes,
fine.
we love her. I love her. I have been just like devouring every book in her catalog right now. So that's just I'm like knee deep in that.
Yeah.
I would say the authors that probably have inspired me the most in my life would be Essie Hinston and VC Andrews. I started reading S.T. Hinston, The Outsiders, of course. I don't know anybody who's ever read that book, but like I
I
force it upon my kids.
I read that book. I quote the opening line all the time. I love that book, and I love that you love it. So
Oh, yes. I think I was probably 13 or 14 when I read it. And then I found out how young she was when she published it. And then I was kind of like, of course I can do this. Like, this is wonderful. I love it. And then I read her entire catalog. And then I fell into Flowers in the Attic and read all of VC Andrews. And I think a lot when I was writing Dolly, actually, when I came across things like, oh, I don't know, I actually I remember having a thought, BC Andrews like boiled a kid in one of her books. So I think we're fine. That's what it was. Then I just kept going.
girl, you're good. You put whatever you want
Yeah.
in there. And we all
Yeah.
probably read that book when we were like in junior high because there
Right.
was
Yeah.
right. No, it's so funny. So
Yeah.
often on this podcast that comes up. I was talking to an author named Tyler Page, and she and I agreed like in middle school, we were reading these on the
Mhm.
playground and no
Yes.
one thought anything about it
No. I'm
whatsoever.
like, if
Yeah.
my mother knew what I was reading, she was just so happy that I was going to the library every week and like bring home an armful of books that she knew I was
Devouring them.
putting into my brain.
No, I know. I reflect back on some of those books and I'm like, "No, she was a wild one." Like, she was doing
Yes.
it back then,
Yeah. Yeah.
before it was, like, maybe more socially acceptable. Very inspiring. Oh, I love that. Well, I appreciate you sharing them with us, and when I think about Essie Hinton, and I kinda wanted to go back to that for a second, I believe she was 16? Am I correct about that when she wrote The
Yeah.
Outsider?
Yes. I think she's like 15 or 16 when she wrote it and she published when she was 17.
Yeah.
But she was in her teens. Like, that's just
Yeah.
amazing.
No, it was so beautiful, and when I think about that book, I think about the themes that she talked about. There was
Mhm.
just this almost otherworldly maturity, I guess, but it was also very relatable as a teen or a tween when you're reading it.
Yes.
It didn't feel
Yeah.
like you were being spoken down to. It almost felt like you were being immersed in this world, and maybe that's what resonates so much. It resonated then, and I'm in my 40s, and it resonates now. And I think about that
Mhm.
book. She almost had a prescience about what people will be drawn to, but it was such a
Mhm.
beautiful story. I love that you loved that. And then the
Oh,
movie
yeah.
came out and just destroyed all of us because the
Right.
movie was great too. So
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I feel like as we're kind of fangirling about these books that we love, there's this feeling, right, that we get with these books. What is a feeling that you want your readers to have when they close your books?
I call it the factor. So and I blame my mother because she is the one who got me into romance to begin with. And we were taught, like, when I was like 17 or 18 years old, I was bored with what I've been reading. I didn't really have anything to read. So she handed me a book, Julie Garwood. I think it was The Wedding or The Bride. I can't remember which one came first, but it was whatever one came first. That was the one. And then I was hooked. And then we were talking about romance and why we liked it so much a little while after that. And what she said, she goes, what I like about it is after I close the book, I just have this feeling. And I was like, yes, exactly it. So I am always chasing that feeling. Like, that's what I want, which is odd to think that you're going to get there with a book like Dolly, but
I got there. It's okay.
right? But
You
yeah,
got me there.
I kind of, but I just kind of feel like I'm going to take you on a roller coaster, but at the end, you're going to land safely and you're going to have the moment. And like, that's what I want at the end.
What is it like for you to know that stranger, right? Anonymous readers have that trust and faith in you? where they feel like they can open up a book, even if it's very dark, and know that you're going to get them there and that they're almost like safe in reading that. And I also think about survivors who, for some of them, the topics might be a bit triggering,
Mhm.
but just trusting your storytelling. I guess I think about that and I wonder what that feels like to know that you're going to have that effect on people and that they trust you, they trust your thoughts, your writing, your creativity.
I try not to think about it too much because it'll start to freak me out.
Oh, good. I'm
Like, it
glad I
starts
brought
to
it up then. I'm glad I could poke the anxiety on a Monday morning. Good. I hope this sticks with you for the rest of the week.
Yeah. But, I guess I just before I finish the books, like, when I'm done, before I'm ready to hit publish or send it off to a publisher, I kind of make sure that I've done that. Like, that's important to me, that I didn't go off the rails and that I got the story where it was supposed to go. When I send a book to an editor, more than, like, the commas and the quotation mark, I want to know, like, did I get the arc right where I took them through some hell, but I got them in a safe place? Like, that's so it is important to me that I do that, but
Mhm.
I try not to think too much about it, that people are counting on it, because I very much can't allow the readers into my bubble until a certain point in the process, because then it starts to muck up the waters.
Yeah.
So, it's usually later on that I consider that. But because it can be a little, like, make sure you do it right. So, but it's on my mind, but I try not to weigh me down, otherwise it'll start to also affect the story.
Yeah. Is anyone that you meet in real life surprised at what you do for a living? Is anyone shocked that there might be a dark story that comes out? Or is this, I don't know, who do you kind of surround yourself with? Like, is this something that people are very supportive and understanding, or are people shocked when they meet you?
Um, a little bit, because I generally try to be a very nice person, so it can be a little like, "You thought about this?" Yeah, pretty easily, actually, it's a little scary. But, like, people who have
Very
known me my
accessible.
yes, yes, yes. But, like, people who've known me for a very long time, they're like, "Yeah, I can see that." Like, because I like horror movies, I like scary books, like, so it's just part of who I am. But when I quit my job to do this full time and I told everyone why I was quitting, because I was gonna be doing this, they were surprised and they were shocked because they didn't know. I didn't give them access to this part of me. So for them, it was surprising. But for people who know me, they're like, "I see it. I
Yeah.
can see it."
What was that moment like? And I don't mean to pry too much into your personal
It's okay.
life, but what was that moment like when you leave the secure thing, right? You're leaving the 9 to 5 or the career and
Mhm.
you're embracing this creative calling. Is there a moment of hesitation or a voice that goes off in your head? Are you liberated from that? Do you never have that? I'm asking as someone who that's an area I've always struggled with where I felt like I had to do that stuff. I had to have the job. And it can be really challenging for us to trust in ourselves and trust in our creativity and lean into that and really commit because it's very hard to do both, to be honest.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So was there ever a moment and how did you move through that?
So I had probably a year before I went full-time writing, I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted to go full-time writing. I was
Yeah.
pretty much done with the other job. I didn't really enjoy it anymore, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was how I paid the bills and everything. That was it. So then I started kind of planning for it. And so by the time I actually gave my resignation, I knew so long as I stayed the way I was going, I was gonna be okay.
Mm.
But there was still that, like, little bit of fear of, like, "Yeah, but what if next month no one wants to read Mafia? What if next month," like, what if, there is still that what if, and it's still even, like, now, like, if, tomorrow someone to be like, "Mafia's out. Nobody reads the Mafias anymore." And then I'm like, "Okay, well," you know, but I guess now I'm more confident I can pivot, and I would just write other stories that I enjoyed, and that's fine, and I would work through it. There's always the chance of failure, but I also knew I had other skills. The worst case scenario, I totally failed. I could go back to what I was doing.
Mhm.
So, I guess it wasn't as scary as it could have been because I did have that little safety net underneath me.
And I think it's important to talk about because I think a lot of us have that internal monologue or that tape that's going in our heads that's telling us about the worst case scenario. People can relate to that where they were under resourced and there's almost this thought in your head like I can't be creative, I can't take that chance, I can't bet on myself, I've got to
Mhm.
be in this. So I really love hearing stories about people who kind of talk themselves through it and lean into it and know that, hey, worst case scenario, I can always do this. I feel like that
Right.
helps us lean into the creativity. And, I always just trust that someone's listening who needs to hear that.
Nothing's
Yeah.
set in stone, right? So, like, you can always pivot, things will change, and you change with it. You just have to be, if you have that in your head already, like, this is the path I'm going, but at some point, I might need to take a left or a right, and if you're open to that, then it makes taking those chances a little easier.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you talking about it. But I do want to take a step back because it's my favorite topic. You mentioned horror movies, and we are
Mm.
entering spooky season. So
Yes.
I just want to pick your brain. What is the lore behind Misha Stone? What are the horror movies that you love, the ones that inspire?
So, right now, I'm into, like, more like the ghostly stuff, like this paranormal, and I'm gonna forget the name of the series. The Annabelle series, or what
Oh, yeah.
is this? I'm making my way through. There's, like, 10 movies or something, and I just kind of found those, so I'm making my way through those. Right now, I like to get spooked. When I was younger, I liked the gore stuff, like the Saw movies, those things, but now I'm like, those are kinda a little too realistic for me, so now I don't really like the gore all that much. I'm more into the psychological, like, mess with my head. I want my head messed with.
Well, I'm in my Final Destination era, which could go on forever because there's a million of those films. But
Mhm.
I will say, I think my core movies are definitely Halloween 1 and Friday the 13th, the original. And that's like saying you
Oh,
like
yeah.
the White Albums by the Beatles.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
everyone loves it,
Y
but
Right.
those are definitely the ones. I built a drive-in movie theater in my backyard, and we've been screening all of that stuff. So those are the movies that are playing. But I do love that you like horror. And that sort of segues into when I told everyone on social media that I was interviewing you, I got such a response because obviously people love you so much. But I got a response from writers who were telling me she's my favorite author. I love her. Like there's so much about her that inspires me.
That is I'm sorry, that is, like, crazy to me. That this
Is it?
doesn't I can't wrap my brain around it, yeah, but okay. I mean, that's great, and it's wonderful, and it makes me feel great. I just can't wrap my brain around that.
Well, you have to because we're going to go into a segment where I talk about it and make you very
Okay.
uncomfortable. But a lot
Okay,
of
I'm ready.
people did. A lot of people did. And it's so funny because even when I make the videos about Dolly, everyone responds and everyone tells me, oh, this is like my favorite book. I love that book. You do get such a response from people. But I was talking to an author I love named Jennifer Ivey, and she wrote this wonderful series called A Killer's Love. And it's
Mhm.
very like horrors, 90s summer camp slasher. I love
Okay.
it. And her final book is coming out in October of the series. So I adore the series. And I asked her, I was like, I know, Misha's like one of your favorite writers. Do you have any questions? So we're going to pivot to some of Jennifer's questions.
Okay.
And she said, her first one, are we getting any more books from the Mafia Brides series?
I don't have any plans for the Mafia Brides now.
And if someone loved that series, would you recommend the new series that's coming out? Is that
Oh, yes.
okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would. If you like that one, you definitely will like Vicious Sinners.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Her second question, are there any tropes or genres that you have not done yet that you would like to do?
Oh, let me think about that. Not done yet. The brother's best friend trope. I haven't really, like, dived into that at all. Like, this new book that's coming, The Corrupted Innocence, or whatever it's called, Devious Corruption. I don't even know my own titles. But, there's a brief, like, so there's the sister's friend, but it's not like a big part of the story. It's not a very core element. So, but that is a trope that I think I would like to play with because they would have to have, history together. So
Mhm.
I would say that's probably the only one that I haven't touched yet that I wouldn't mind touching. Yeah.
Interesting. One of my favorite things to read is characters who do have history together. I love that. I eat it up. It's one of my
Mhm.
favorites. So I guess fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
that one. And the last question Jennifer asked was she's curious how you found it writing the Stalked by a Monster series, where you worked with other authors. So did you write it separately? Did you work together? How did it come together?
So that one was with Zoe Blake and Sarah Fields. Zoe actually came up with the idea that we do that one. And we just each picked a story that we wanted to retell, and we all wrote it separately. But we did like collaborate on like the darkness level and that sort of thing. But we each just did our own individual story. But that was a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed doing that with them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Well,
I'm a big fan of Zoe, and I like her a lot, and Sarah too. So they're both great. So it was really fun to write with people, be in a project with people that you respect so much.
Well, it's funny because I always ask people on social media, like, who would you like me to talk to on the podcast? And Zoe's name comes up all the time. So I feel
Oh,
like,
you would love talking with her.
yeah.
Yes, you would love talking with her. She's great to
Put a
talk with.
good word in for me.
I will.
I'm going to dive into her catalog, and I would love to just read more of her work. Oh, I so appreciate you answering all of those questions. And I love learning so much more about your work and what inspires you. And one of the other parts of this podcast is I always invite people to come on and share a love letter that they've written either to their younger self or to their readers. So I would love to give you the floor and hear your love letter.
Yeah, I did it, and I wrote it to my readers. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and read what I wrote. I have a confession. I'm a selfish writer. First and foremost, I write my stories for myself. I chase my own factor first. After I found my own path with the characters, met them, lived their story with them, and helped them map out their journey, I invite others, you, the readers, to join me on their adventures. It's not to say that I'm not aware of my target audience or current trends, but I do my best work when I put those to the side and just let my creativity fly free without boundaries. I'm lucky and grateful that there are readers who enjoy these characters and their stories as much as I do. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be selfish. Thank you for loving these characters as much as I do. Thank you for joining me on this fabulous ride of creativity, romance, and happily ever afters. Yours in romance, Misha.
Oh, Misha, thank you so much. I think all of your readers will appreciate that. And I would love to hear, where can we get in touch with you? It's very obvious you're on social media, but how do you like readers to communicate or stay connected to you?
So if you're going to try to connect with me on social media, Instagram is probably the easiest way. And if you want to join my newsletter, I do have a little something special for newsletter subscribers. I send them out twice a month, so I try not to totally overload anybody's email boxes. I wrote a short story, it's very short, that comes after Dolly and then bridges into Marked, which is another serial killer romance. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you get that little short story. So you get a glimpse of Dolly and Ken in the aftermath and a little glimpse at what happens coming up.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I will make sure to put a link to your newsletter sign up in the show notes for people like me who love Dolly and wanted to hear some more and get a little short story out of it.
Great.
So, Misha, thank you so much for joining us today, for being so open and sharing so much about your work and your process. I loved talking to you, and I hope you join us again soon.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me. This was like totally fun and casual and wonderful. So I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Everyone will.
Okay.
Trust me. Thank you for listening to this episode of Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can find me on both Instagram and TikTok at Love Letters and Books. And if you're interested in being a guest on Love Letters and Books, suggesting your favorite author, or just want to write in an original love letter to yourself or someone else to be read on air, please send me an email at lovelettersandmixtapes@gmail.com.